In this series of talks, we're going to be looking at how to use AI in your job. In the first few talks, we're going to look at how ChatAI is built, so things like ChatGTP and Claude, how those are made and how understanding how they're made means that you can use them better. My name's James Johnson. I've been working in IT for well over 30 years. I now am a consultant in web and AI. Most of my clients are semiconductor companies. I want to start by going back way back in time to the end of 2022. One of my startup clients was launching a product related to AI computer vision. So I suggested that we, as part of the launch, we use an image created by AI. And I generated the image here of a robot looking at a butterfly. And I used AI software to create this image. And it really struck me at the time that I'm glad I'm not an illustrator that makes a living from illustrations, because um, this technology is developing very rapidly and it's getting really, really good. And there were titles around that in that time. So this is from a few months later, from March 2023. Goldman Sachs: 300 million jobs could be affected by AI. Um, you know, ChatGTP launched right at the end of 2022. I think it was November, and it caused a lot of fuss and a lot of people wondering about this question. I was very concerned about it. I wrote this little essay for my blog, AI is coming for your job, and illustrated it. I mean, it's hopefully a fairly amusing essay saying that you need to basically be learning AI skills, or you'll become a work zombie, and rather than a AI-powered superhero. So I was very concerned about it then. But a couple of years have passed, which is forever in AI terms. And now, so very recently, you may have seen this uh, paper that was published online that caused a lot of discussion, AI 2027, saying that just in 2 years, there will be enormous leaps in AI. It's actually kind of fancy essay to look at as you go down the little graphs update. And you can see here by March 2027, we've got superhuman coder. And later on, by August, we've got superhuman AI researcher. So if this is the case, then we really do need to be worried about losing our jobs. But is it really the case? Here's an article from The Economist from May of this year: why AI hasn't taken your job, and any AI jobs apocalypse seems a long way off. Um, so we're not seeing that lots of people are losing jobs right now. There are instances of it, but in general, it doesn't seem to be happening. On the other hand, from the Economist, just from June, a few months later, why today's graduates are screwed. Um, there are stats showing that AI may be having some serious effects on the early career group. So these graphs are from a report from Stanford, just that again just came out this month. And this shows a 13% relative decline in employment for the 22 to 25 age group. So it seems that AI may be having effects on new graduates. It's worth looking at this paper. It's very interesting. There are some reasons to be a little bit skeptical about it, though. there um, there have been changes to tax laws that may have affected these results, and some people are a bit skeptical about how clear and the decline starting in 2022 and kind of going down in a straight line. It's almost a bit too too clear, and you would expect it, these kind of declines to be happening more recently than from that date at the end of 2022. But I've already lived through a very large tech revolution of the World Wide Web. So we're going to go right back to 1997. Here's the Apple website. You can see in the top right corner, July the 14th, 1997. Um, the world was a very different place then. The World Wide Web was incredibly exciting. This is Yahoo. This was before Google. So if you wanted to find a website, you had to look at this reference site. Um, I think Yahoo does still exist, but it was huge then. Netscape, also huge. It was the browser. Everybody thought Netscape was going to be a huge company. Again, it's not. I expect youngsters today won't have heard of Yahoo. AOL. AOL was the way that many people, especially in America, connected to the internet. Um, this shows the level of sophistication of web pages at that time. This is a very exciting page because you've got animation on it. I was actually head of new media at the Natural History Museum in London and designed their website at this time and did various projects with them that we put online. And we had a really good website, I have to say. And so it was a very exciting time for me. I was sort of interviewed on television. I had a profile in the Times of London, um, and people wanted to know what I thought about the future then. And I was very wrapped up in as pretty much everybody who was involved with the web were very excited about the future. This is a cover from the Wired magazine of July 1997. The long boom. Pretty much every cover of Wired magazine, which was kind of the Bible of the web revolution then, was making amazing predictions about the future. And this is a flavor of some of the kind of predictions that were made then. So the end of traditional education, people wouldn't need to actually go to university anymore because you'd be able to do everything online. And that would revolutionize education around the world because anybody anywhere in the world could attend the best universities. The demise of physical stores. So because you could buy things online, you wouldn't go to physical stores anymore. So the high street would die. The end of physical books. So Nicholas Negroponte, who was head of the MIT Media Lab, predicted by 2020 that there wouldn't be any physical books published anymore. And he was a very high profile figure then, and he was also on the cover of Wired magazine many times, making this kind of prediction. And the death of the music industry. Another thing that youngsters today won't have heard of is Napster, but Napster was huge. Not so much in 1997, a few years later, around 2000, but people were really predicting that the music industry was dead. And of course, all of these things did happen to an extent, and there were changes in all of these fields, but it took a lot longer to happen. And it um, often, what was there before wasn't replaced, it was just the web stuff was a new thing, the digital stuff was a new thing. So, in other words, people now read Kindle books, but paper books still are just as popular as they ever were. In fact, I think we're in a golden age of physical books now. With the demise of physical stores, that it did happen a bit, but people are still going to stores now. The revolution in education, unfortunately, didn't really happen at all to the extent that was expected, which is a shame, I think. Um, So yeah, so a lot of predictions were made then that were just wrong. And I think if you look at the 2027 report that I was showing you just a moment ago, that's of a similar nature to this. There's a lot of predictions that are just plain wrong, things that just aren't going to happen in science fiction. So how are companies using AI right now? Um, this is, I think this was published yesterday. This shows a survey of companies in New York from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. This is actually on their website. And it's showing how companies are using AI, so searching for information, marketing and advertising, business analysis, and the approximate percentage of users in each of these areas. So people are seriously beginning to use it. I see in clients that people are using it. Um, it's definitely making changes. It's having much bigger changes in some areas than others. So if you're an illustrator, I would be very concerned about this. If you're in anything related to languages, because large language models were made to process language. So if you're a translator or transcriber, then this is really going to affect your job significantly, um, if it hasn't already. And but for I think for many of us, it's more going to be a new tool, and a very exciting new tool that's going to make us much more um, productive and be able to do better things than we could before, or more ambitious things. So this is what I'm hoping to cover over the next sessions. The first 4 sessions being looking at understanding AI. And I think that when you understand it, the kind of the magic of it really kind of fades away a little bit, and you realize that this isn't really intelligent. It's a kind of useful tool, and I think getting rid of the magic is actually quite useful, because you realize, well, it becomes a bit less scary if you realize how these things work, and you become much better at using them. And then later on into October and November, we'll be covering real use cases using AI. So this is a little image I did on my morning commute for the next session, and the one after that, where we'll be looking at something called inference. And so I hope to see you at the next call. Thank you.